Did they make
No,
contact?
no. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
You hear that wheel spin, Ben? Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go. But the bump and run is going to get Jeff Gordon the checkered flag at the end of the winless streak. Gordon wins the Sharpie 500 at Bristol.
And Maine really turned around, made a Riley's cage up.
Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D.Y., joined by my two co-hosts, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric at Daytona Ron. Hope you had an Alex Bowman type weekend. Hope you had a great weekend. And like always, thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you tell all your friends about it, all your NASCAR listening friends. I'm sure they'll enjoy it. Podcast available every Monday night, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. And every Tuesday morning, video available on YouTube. Got to give a shout out to all the friends of the show. Got to give a shout out to Robbie Shredder Stray. Last Tuesday was his birthday. If I knew, I would have given him a little birthday shout out. So happy belated birthday, Robbie. And how are you guys doing? Matt, Eric, how was the weekend?
It was a rough weekend.
Rough weekend? What happened?
Just, same old, putting down maybe a couple 2-3 more than I should have. And, spending Sunday struggling, with the eyes, during the race after a long weekend,
It's hard
the type of racing that I saw, it made it even harder to keep them eyes open.
I was going to say the product on the track probably didn't help that too much this week.
I started snoozing in the third stage there, not going to lie. I closed my eyes. I was just resting my eyes. I didn't completely fall asleep. I was listening to the race the whole time, I swear. How about you, Matt? I heard you had a little run-in with Chase, your dog, and your beer koozie. What happened?
Yeah, so I got this brand new Chase Elliott beer koozie, right? And Friday night, long week of work, stressful week. So like everyone else, I was kicking him back, and he had to go out to the bathroom in the yard. So I brought him out, and rookie mistake, right? I had the beer in the same hand as the leash, and he's a Cocker Spaniel, so he's a hunter at heart, and he saw a rabbit in the yard, and the rabbit took off, and he went to go take off. And my beer just spilled all over my Chase Elliott koozie, the one that I'm using right now. So it smells like a frat house right now, but I'll manage. I'll be all right.
I will make it a short show today. That way we don't subjugate you to too many intoxicating smells. I don't want you to stumbling over your words later on like I'm stumbling over my words now. Do you guys want to jump into the NASCAR news since last week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Really not much to talk about. Last week we mentioned Noah Gragson got a penalty during the last Xfinity Series race's ride height. He broke the ride height rule. Well, they were appealing it. I said last week, I go, that's going to stick. No way they reversed the penalty. But sure enough, they did. A lot of people online were saying probably because it's junior motorsports and stuff. I don't think that's true. I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat on that one. But Noah Gragson got his finishing position back. He got his $100,000 back. And this past weekend, we'll probably get into it during the Xfinity Series breakdown, but Josh Berry bringing home the Dash for Cash money during the Xfinity Series race. So Junior Motorsports getting themselves $400,000 of someone else's money. So congratulations to them.
After that Gragson thing, I think NASCAR actually made a rule change.
Did they really?
Since the reversal, whatever happened in that, I think there was a change for all teams after that. So I think there was a gray area
where they were skating the gray area.
Race.
Okay.
And then after that, I think they made a change so that it doesn't happen again.
Okay, that makes sense. That now I understand kind of why they reversed that decision.
That's why they reversed it. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that part of the story. I just saw the update that it was reversed last week, and well, because it's Noah Gragson, I kind of didn't pay attention after that, I'll be honest.
Yeah. It's one of those gray areas.
Big news coming out of Texas Motor Speedway. President and famous track promoter, infamous track promoter, Eddie Gossage, announcing he will retire following the All-Star race. And Matt, you had a pretty funny comment about that. What do you think about Eddie Gossage retiring?
I don't even remember what I said. What I said.
I think you said the All-Star race format's so complicated that he has to leave his job after.
It's true though. I think the guy took a look at the All-Star race format and said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm out.
I'm out. I can't do this anymore."
Yeah. This is what's gonna push me out of the sport.
He did say the timing was feeling right. I thought it was kind of shocking though, because Texas is in the playoffs later on in the season. So you think he would round out the 2021 NASCAR season, but I guess he's peacing out after the end of June. Maybe he's going to enjoy his summer, go on summer vacation, probably jump on a big old boat and enjoy the weather. Speaking
lot of love for him on Twitter, though. A lot of love for him on Twitter. The whole NASCAR world, like he was someone that was a major part of the sport for sure.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know much about him until this past week reading. So, it's definitely going to hurt the sport not having him there promoting and doing what he does. So I think, to Matt's point, I think he's like, the way NASCAR's going, it ain't his style anymore. Yeah. Let me out.
Yeah, I think Eddie Gossage, just for those who don't know anything about him or little about him, he's, like Whitey alluded to, he's the track president of Texas Motor Speedway. And just think of it in from the boxing world, he's a promoter of that sport, or of that track rather.
Yeah.
And he's a very eccentric human being. I know when drivers are retiring and they're kind of going on that retirement tour their last season, he was known to give them wild and crazy gifts. I think it was Jeff Gordon that got a couple ponies from him.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. I think Jimmy Johnson last year made a joke about thank God for COVID, so I don't get a crazy ass gift from Eddie Gossage.
Yeah.
Made light of it, not, thank God for COVID, but you know what I mean? And so I think he was just known as a crazy eccentric kind of guy. So yeah, I saw a lot of love for him too. So, hey, if he's ready to move on, he has the financial wherewithal to do that. Good for him, man.
Absolutely. Eddie Gossage, one of those polarizing figures. A lot of people don't like. I personally, I think he takes some cheap shots at drivers sometimes that are a little tasteless. But
Sure.
on the other end, people say oh, he's just roasting him and stuff. He said some stuff about Junior back in the day when he was leaving DEI and some Teresa Earnhardt drama on the big screen for all the fans to see. And I'm pretty sure Earnhardt Jr. Didn't appreciate it at the time. But again, one of those polarizing guys, really. A great promoter, though, thinking outside the box, really thinking about how to bring new fans in. He started in the days when you didn't have to promote racing. Just NASCAR coming to town filled the grandstands. And since then, obviously, the grandstands have been thinning out. And, he still did a hell of a job getting people in the stands down in Texas. But speaking of Texas, this week we're going to Circuit of the Americas in Texas. And they've been announcing drivers. So it's going to be triple header weekend, trucks, Xfinity, and Cup all on track on a brand new road course to NASCAR. And all day long, really, NASCAR drivers have been announced who's going to be running. Of course, last week, Tyler Reddick was announced he's going to run an Xfinity Series race for Jordan Anderson Racing. Big get for Jordan Anderson Racing. He's a self-funded guy in the truck series, trying to make it in the Xfinity Series as well. Austin Dillon just announced he's going to try to qualify for the Xfinity Series race at Cota for Bassett Racing. I never heard of Bassett Racing, but good luck to Austin Dillon. And this one, I'm pretty excited. I'm getting hard for Menard because Paul Menard going to be returning to the truck race at Cota for ThorSport. Duke and Rhonda Thorson throwing old Paul Menard in the truck series. And I'm excited just because I get to say hard for Menard again. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And of course, this Wednesday, the Pro Invitational going to be at Virtual Cota, 7 p.m. on FS1. And that's pretty much all there was for news. It was a pretty quiet news week, unless Matt, I think you had have something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that list for the Xfinity Series race. Like you said Austin Dillon, Reddick.
Yeah.
And I know Harvick, Custer, and Kyle Busch are going to be running in the Xfinity race as well. So any fans of those drivers might want to tune in for the Xfinity race.
Very nice. Oh, and if you're a Ty Dillon fan, he's going to be running for the Gaunt brothers for the Cup Series race. The Circuit of America.
Austin Cindric is going to be running Cup this week too.
Austin Cindric's going to run Cup too?
Yep. Yeah, he'll be in that 33 car.
Really? Cindric might be a good fantasy pick if you don't want to waste a guy you're trying to figure out, maybe you don't want to use Martin Truex Jr. just quite yet. You're running low on some picks. Austin Cindric is a very good road course racer, and I know he doesn't have a whole lot of experience in Cup, but he has a whole lot of experience on the road and with IMSA cars and everything. It's going to be in a Penske car. I would say if you want to take the gamble,
bad pick. Yeah.
Not a terrible pick. Speaking of Xfinity Series racing and Austin Cindric, he was actually the winner this week, his third win of the season. But the big story was Josh Berry stepping in and who was he? He was running for Justin Allgaier, right? Justin Allgaier is having a baby. He couldn't run his car, and Josh Berry stepped in
for the Xfinity race.
Yeah.
No, that was a scheduled.
It was a scheduled
race
car. Yeah.
Right. You're thinking of Josh Berry.
Yeah, he went in for Spire Motorsports in the 77 in Cup. That was his Cup debut.
Justin Haley came down with
COVID. Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I didn't watch the Xfinity Series race. I heard that mentioned on Moody today. I thought he was in for Allgaier, who was having a baby and wasn't running this week.
No, that was a scheduled race for.
People were on standby though. Whitey.
Oh, people were on standby.
They were because Allgaier didn't know. Like it was like very, very close. It was like a close call situation where if he was going to be able to go in the car or not. So there were a couple drivers, I guess, on standby in case
something happened.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm not going crazy.
No, you're not. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that you weren't. You had bits and pieces that just weren't together.
Yeah. See, I was out all day Saturday. I did not get a chance to check out the Xfinity Series race. Matt, I think you were watching, right? And Eric, you were watching also, weren't you?
I was able to see a little bit of it. Same thing. We were busy. It was beautiful out, so we took advantage of it. Went to Knoebels, and so I got to see. I got to see probably 3/4 of the race, but I didn't really have much like the Cup Series race. There wasn't much to write home about.
No, there really wasn't. It was pretty much the same as the Cup race was. There were the dominant cars that were out front, and I was rooting for Josh Berry there at the end. I thought he had a car to do it, but come the end of the race, Austin came out on top, and Josh Berry still came home second. The Dash for Cash winner. I thought it was funny, how in the post-race interview, he wouldn't grab the check.
Yeah, the lady was like trying to hand it off,
give it to him, and he's just talking. He's just there, and like the poor, you could tell, like, it's like, come on, like you're supposed to grab the check, and like
it's like a Happy Gilmore.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
So there was a back and forth on Twitter about that with a couple funny. Comments about him not grabbing that.
I'm sure NASCAR Chasm had fun with that one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
that guy's just so creative, NASCAR Chasm. If you're not following NASCAR Chasm really on Twitter, oh yeah.
Every day, multiple tweets a day, and they're always on point.
Always.
Tough to do.
Always.
Tough to do.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of, junior motorsports, Hendrick Motorsports, the affiliate team up in Cup, had one hell of a day down in Dover. A 1, 2, 3, 4 finish. The first time since it was like 2006 or something like that. When
I think was it Roush? Was it Roush?
Roush Fenway when they were running on top. They were the last ones to do it down in Homestead. Well, down in Dover, Alex Bowman was leading the Hendrick Motorsports Brigade with his second win of the season. Truly a team effort win. He had the fastest pit stop of anyone this season, put him out front, and then he led for about 90 laps to bring it home, holding off all three of his other teammates, Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Kyle Larson. And it was a Hendrick domination day, really. Kyle Larson was out front all day long. It was his race to lose, and he came in second. And
Hold on a second. Eric, did you think that was the time to put eye drops in?
It's allergy season.
Yeah. I got my window open right next to me, dude.
You got a breeze coming through, drying out the eyes.
My car has been covered in pollen.
Same here.
I swear now. I left my upstairs windows open. Yeah. Every piece of furniture up here is covered in yellow pollen. Like, I swear to God. Like, I'm like, oh my God, it's dusty up here. I rub my fingers, it's just yellow
It's
pollen.
yellow and green.
It's just all over my upstairs.
All over.
I left the
remember it being
windows
that
open.
bad when we were growing up.
Oh,
No, this
it's
has to be
bad.
the worst
it's
year
bad.
for pollen and allergies.
Yeah, it's bad.
I know last
Eye drops in the middle of the show.
I know.
I had to. My contact was about to fall out of my eye.
I know last week we were talking about the cicadas and stuff. It's like the 17-year cicadas or whatever. And I haven't seen one. I don't know when they're supposed to come out, but do you think it's the cicadas and the pollen, like they're all intermingled and stuff?
Dude, it's just, I think the whole thing's coming to an end. It's just all coming down.
And we're running out of time.
It's the start of it. The pollen's the start of it.
The planet is angry and it's going to start consuming us again. All right. Anyways, back to the cup race. Alex Bowman, your winner. What'd you guys think of the race? Since Eric's dealing with his allergies in his eyes, Matt, you want to jump into our race grades here?
Yeah. So I gave it a C, and honestly, I think I'm being a little generous with that grade.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the worst race I've ever seen, but it was not the best race I've seen either. Me being a Hendrick Motorsports fan, of course, I loved seeing that 1, 2, 3, 4 finish.
Yeah.
But I try not to let my fan bias kind of, affect my race grade.
Overall.
So there really wasn't anything eventful that happened during the race. We had long green flag runs. The best battle of the day was for 16th place in stage 1 between Briscoe and Stenhouse. That's not ideal as far as having an exciting race.
No.
I think Fox showed more fans in the crowd drinking beers and dancing than they did show mid-pack battles.
I tell you what, I did get a kick out of those guys like partying. I was walking by, I was running outside actually to grab a beer of my own. I had my cooler in the back of the car. And I walked by and I said to my girlfriend, I go, man, that guy's drunk as shit.
Yeah, they looked like they were enjoying the race.
They were having a good time.
But it's never a good sign when Fox is showing people in the stands over the product on the track. So I thought like I said, I still think Atlanta was probably the worst race of the year as far as my feelings. But it was nowhere near what I wanted it to be. I know even, off air talking to you guys throughout the week through text message, I was really, chirping up Dover saying that I really think it's an underrated racetrack. And it usually is. It usually produces really fun racing, but for whatever reason, I just didn't think it did yesterday. I was super disappointed. So it got a C, and like I said, I was being generous with that.
No, I agree. I was super excited for Dover. I thought it was going to be a fun weekend. I know all three of us talked about going down a couple weeks ago. That was before we were sure if there was tickets available. And it just didn't work out. It didn't pan out. But even Sunday morning, like I was still contemplating. I checked the ticket prices on StubHub. The cheapest ticket I could find was like $90. I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm going to drive down to Dover. And now I'm really glad I didn't spend that $90 to drive down.
Yeah. We've got Pocono coming up soon too. So
yeah,
it was a good call not going down, I would say.
How about you, Eric? Are you on the same page?
Oh, I'm definitely on the same page with you guys. I mean, when I was thinking of my race grade for this week, I like Matt, I went back to like Atlanta as far as, talk about Snooze Fest. And,
yeah.
What I disliked about that race. But then this race, if you looked at, the leaderboard and, I normally have to follow that because like Matt said, the Fox broadcast, sometimes I'm not, it's not the guys in the booth, but the production sometimes,
they're focusing on the leader.
Yeah. And, it kind of played out like Darlington did as far as, the good cars ran up front and everyone else really struggled. Good cars, 3 laps down. And it just does show like, hey, if you have a car, you have a car that week. If you don't, you don't, you know, and that's what's going to happen with this kind of car and package, which I didn't hate it at Darlington. It just same thing kind of played out here at Dover, but it just didn't work. Like you
had a
touched
different
on, like,
feeling,
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I think it was a race that you had to be there live for, and I know we all, the 3 of us, we love to see these races live. We'd love to be at the racetrack, and we know the difference it is when you're there versus watching it on TV.
100%.
And and I mean, I bet if we all go back and if we attended every one of these races, our race grades would be, probably drastically different. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, it was all right, but I'll give it a D+. I can't give it a C. It lacked too much for me to give it the C. I just got to give it the D+ for Dover. And, it was what it was. It was just a meh race. I didn't hate watching it, but it wasn't anything to go bragging and try to get fans into say, hey, look at this is NASCAR,
Sure. At the end of the day, we're all NASCAR fans. We're all obviously, diehard enough to have a podcast about it. So we're going to watch it. I'm not going to sit there and curse out NASCAR whatever when a race doesn't work out the way I want it to. You're going to have that. Like I said last week, you're not going to have in stick and ball sports, you're not going to have a tied game with 2 minutes left. And sometimes, with these races, they're going to get strung out. It's
Absolutely.
Just right. This was the perfect race. I call it a laundry day race where I do my laundry as the race is on. You kind of can get stuff done.
Yeah.
You get stuff done, but it's on in the background and you don't really miss much,
So speaking of stick and ball sports, I was watching the Yankees-Orioles game on Saturday night. I think it was an 8-1 game, and I still enjoyed it though. It was kind of a blowout. I feel like Dover was kind of the same. It was just one of those blowout races. The leader got ahead. Clean air was king. He couldn't pass. I don't blame the package for it. I don't blame the track for it. I think it's just sometimes that's how Dover is, last week I gave Darlington, I think I gave it a C+. I was going to give this a C-. Like last week, we had long lines, but the thing we didn't have that we had last week, we had those mid-pack battles to watch. And, like you alluded to, Eric, I was watching the sidebar too, because Tyler Reddick had a speeding penalty. He wasn't doing the greatest. And so I was watching his position because, he wasn't getting TV time. Of course, he's not leading the race or anything.
And I'll tell you what, loved his paint scheme.
Oh yeah. Great paint scheme.
Yeah.
Reddick, if they're like Whitey, I know that's your driver.
Yeah.
If a black t-shirt comes out with that car on it, I'm going to get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was a sick scheme. Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a really cool cheddar scheme for Cota coming up next too. It's a patriotic scheme with all the Cheddar's employees who have served in the military. I think it's a really cool concept. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like as I was watching it, I was noticing no real movement. You'd see like maybe one guy pass every couple laps. It wasn't huge swings. I know Chase Elliott worked his way from the back to the front pretty easily early on in the race. But if you were like a 20th place car and you were battling for 19th, it was taking it a while to make that pass. And I think it was the dirty air, it was, that's how it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, like even Reddick, I think you saw at the end of that race, they gambled and they won. Like those guys that finished, like they weren't running well all race long.
Yeah.
They took that gamble to get themselves up because they knew they couldn't pass. They needed to do something to gain that track position. So, kudos to the strategy at the end too.
Well, I was just going to say, sometimes what you need for a race like that kind of gets drawn out is, oh, wait a second, this pack of cars is on a whole different strategy than the front.
Yeah.
If this thing runs itself out and we kind of get into a fuel mileage race, maybe we can see some shaking up. And that makes sometimes those drawn out green flag runs super exciting because it's like, well, when are they going to have to pit? When is the fuel window going to close on them? And it just seemed like we didn't have that yesterday, or at least the drama of that potential happening.
We had a bit
that sucked the wind out of it too.
Yeah. We had a little bit in stage 3 when some of the top 10 guys pitted for tires. But then we saw tires really didn't matter at Dover too much.
Right.
And the gamble didn't pay off. And we did see the top 10 get mixed up. Daniel Suarez was in the top 10 as a result of that. Tyler Reddick, like I said, was in the top 10 as a result of that. So it did change the complexity of the race. Like later on, it did make it a little interesting to see if that tire call would make it work. But you're right. Like I said in the beginning, Alex Bowman's win was a full team effort. Like this race was won and lost on pit road, and it was a boring race. It's not the race you're going to show someone to get them hooked on the sport. Do I think it was terrible? No, I was going to say it's a D+ for Dover, but I'm going to stick with a C-. I think it was solid. You know, it was a true testament to the team effort, if you will, you know, getting your setup right. Getting
like
your pit
I always
road
say, it was one of those
good,
races
you know?
that we're not gonna talk about 2 or 3 years from now.
No.
You know?
I think the highlight of that race was when Larson, he really honestly had a shot to win when you talk about it was a team effort.
Yeah.
He was in second. They were on the bottom. Bowman was in the lead. And Larson really pushed to Bowman's bumper. And if that wasn't Bowman, if that was anybody else, I think Larson bumps Bowman, shifts Bowman up. Larson didn't want to do that because Larson felt Harvick to his outside, knew Bowman couldn't go up the racetrack, or else guess what? Bowman's getting into Harvick. Harvick gets into Bowman. Yeah. The three of them are getting wrecked. So in that one turn, and probably the last chance that Larson had to get in front to win that race, his teammate he would have taken them all out. Yeah. And he chose the 1, 2, 3, 4 over getting greedy and going for that second win. You know, and not to throw a dig in there, but I'll always throw a dig in there. Logano would have made that.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course he would have.
You know what I mean? Like, you already have a win, Joey. Like, relax. Let your teammates finish 1, 2, 3. Nope, he wouldn't give a shit. He'd wreck everybody.
I mean, I thought Brad was going to wreck Logano too. He was pushing on the inside of him, and he got loose and ran him up the track. You remember that? And those are teammates, you know. But
I will say this to bring the mood up, and to turn some positive into this weekend is, you know, Fox's big slogan this year is the best season ever, and although, you know, we've had a couple individual duds, we're seeing, like, if you told me, what did we just get done with week 13? Was that the 13th race?
It was, let me see in my notes. Yeah, we're 13 races in with 10 different drivers.
So if you told me after 13 races we'd have 10 different drivers and the only 2 people with multiple wins was Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman.
Yeah.
And then if you told me on top of that Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and Kevin Harvick didn't have a win at all, I wouldn't believe you. And here we are sitting, you know, we're almost in June, and
Michael McDowell is in 16th place and locked into the playoffs with a win.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man. Like, it's crazy. We're having a super exciting year overall. So that's my positive. There's a lot of storylines already building up going into the summertime here. So
it's true.
You know, take that.
And like looking at the playoff picture today, it's a very interesting playoff picture. Like right now, just to summarize, so Denny Hamlin is first in points with 0 wins. William Byron is in second with 1 win. Martin Truex Jr. is in third with 3 wins. That alone is just insane to me. You know, it goes to show you how important stage points are. Yeah. Everyone in the top 16 has a win except for Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Chris Buescher, out of nowhere, having the season of his life. Yeah. I mean, I know for one, I kind of, you know, I marked Roush Fenway off in my book years ago where they'll never get back to prominence. Yeah. And like maybe Ryan Newman's not running as well as he could, but he's also a veteran, and we know veterans tend to fall off. He had a pretty nasty wreck a couple of years ago that might have shaken some of his confidence. Chris Buescher, a young guy, pretty talented, and he's showing it off this year. I mean, Tyler.
I'll tell you what, he was part of my DraftKings lineup that helped me win a couple bucks yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So he's a value pick that's been on my lineup.
He's always been a decent pick for daily fantasy sports, even when he was running for JTG Doherty, because he would start kind of far back and then finish in the 20s.
He's a former Xfinity Series champion, so he's got talent.
Oh, absolutely. And who knows what's going on behind the doors of Roush Fenway? Maybe they got some new money going in. I know Jack Roush is real cheap though. That's the thing. I've heard some interviews with Mark Martin, and he doesn't so much shit talk him, but he implies a lot of it where he's like
spending money.
Oh yeah.
I've heard that as well.
But I mean, you know, so far we have 10 different drivers that won, 6 that haven't. And in my opinion, any of them can win a race. Denny Hamlin probably going to win a race by the end of the season. I can't imagine he's not going to. Chase Elliott, the same. Kevin Harvick, same time. Austin Dillon has a chance to win somewhere. I don't know where. He could
I totally agree with that.
I agree with that as well.
He could get lucky and win.
Yes.
Tyler Reddick, I don't know. Maybe. I'm hoping. And
there's a chance. They're not running bad. Like both Reddick and Austin Dillon are running pretty freaking good right now. They're not at the forefront of people's minds, but if they're in a good situation or a right opportunity, a win could come.
I mean, Austin Dillon's sitting in 11th without a win right now. He's got a comfortable playoff spot at the official midpoint of the season. And we have Daytona, which is, a great track for RCR drivers. I mean,
sure.
Reddick runs up front in Daytona. Austin Dillon's won in Daytona.
The wild cards with the road courses coming up. You never know.
I think that's when Chase is going to get his win. I think he's going to get his win at one of these road courses. I don't know about Cota. Too unpredictable. We'll see what practice and qualifying. Should we jump into our checkers and records though? I don't want to jump too far in. Let's start with you, Eric. What was your checkers for this week?
My checkers, I was going to go a couple different ways with this, and I wanted to go with Bowman's pit crew, just his pit crew, for just laying down one of the greatest pit stops.
I think the fastest stop of their season.
Yeah.
Of the season, of the whole season,
of the whole
not
season.
Just that, of
everybody,
any team, to get them to win. But then I'm like, I'll go with my checkers as that, but I have to throw in just Hendrick Motorsports. I think we could all just agree, and it's okay. I mean, I know you were going to go that route, Matt, which is kind of why it was tough. But we could all kind of agree that they deserve a checkers from everybody.
Absolutely.
Hard not to go checkers there with Hendrick.
They put all their cars in the top 5.
Right. But we talk about drivers every week and this and that, but we tend to shit more on the pit crews and the officials or pit road or penalties. But this week, it just proves that pit crews are a crucial part of a race weekend.
Absolutely.
And it just showed that they legitimately won that race for Alex Bowman because, like you alluded to earlier, Whitey, fresh air up front was everything. Once you got out in front off that restart, you were staying there. So to get him that P1 spot was a big deal. So my checkers went to, Hendrick / just Bowman's pit crew for just laying it down under pressure at just the that was the moment of the race. So, hats off to Hendrick.
Yeah. I mean, we're big football fans, on this podcast. So I like to think about pit crews almost as, yeah, you're not, Whitey.
Nah, man.
What are you?
USC Trojans, baby. Yeah, you are, Whitey.
Oh, yeah. The problem is the games are on the West Coast, and I can't stay up that late.
All right. Anyway, for us non-communists over here, for Eric and I, we're football fans, okay? Yeah. So I like to think of the pit crew as the offensive line, right? When you have a good one, they're going to help you win games. When you have a bad one, they're going to help you lose games. And the same with pit crews, man. When you have a really good pit crew, they're going to be the ones in the trenches. They're going to be the ones that can win you a race. And yesterday, that 48 team proved that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like to see when the pit crews do something solid like that.
That's very true. It's almost like in bowling, one of my favorite sports. It's like, you have the hand, you have the mind, and you have the ball. But if the guy drilling the holes doesn't get that ball right, it's never going to hit that pocket the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, we'll just stick with the offensive line analogy.
All right, Eric, what was your records for this week?
I'm gonna go to my records where Joe Gibbs. They just shit. Kyle Busch, I'll give him credit. If that issue didn't happen in the beginning of the race, he was putting down the fastest lap times in that third stage by far. I think he would have been a contender.
He would have been a contender, absolutely.
But you have Mark Truex struggled. Everyone thought he was going to be good. 19th, Bell, 21st, 3 laps down. Like
I'm glad
Kyle,
I didn't put Bell in my lineup. I was going to put him in my fantasy
19
lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you have 19, 21, 27. Yes, Denny was P4, but he was part of that strategy at the end that got him
Got
to P4.
tires and stuff.
He ran 15th through, like he wasn't running that well.
I thought Denny went in for tires though. I thought he started making passes near the end on a little fresher of a tire.
I know Joey was on that strategy.
Maybe I was thinking about Joey Logano. Maybe I was thinking about Joey Logano. I think you're right. That was around the time where I was honestly like closing my eyes during the race. So
yeah.
So Gibbs just, I think they just shit the bed this week. Like Stuart Haas has been shitting the bed. I wrecked them a couple weeks, and this was a track that I really thought Gibbs was going to do very well at. Veterans. At Dover's a tough racetrack especially with that package. Throttle control and really having to know your car. I'm like, that suits Gibbs. And fantasy wise, I had a lot of those Gibbs guys in there. But dude, thankfully my garage pick was a good one.
I gotta show you my lineup for fantasy this past week. I had Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex Jr., and then I had William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott. So I got half of them right with Hendrick Motorsports. I was leaning heavy on Gibbs. I had Denny Hamlin as my winner. I had Martin
ended the show with Gibbs "Don't Let Me Down" or one of our text groups. You're like, Gibbs, don't let me down.
I had Martin
watching the race. I'm like, oh no.
I had Martin Truex Jr. as my top Toyota just in case Denny didn't perform and Martin Truex Jr. did. He was the third Toyota. I had Toyota as the winning manufacturer and Joe Gibbs Racing as the winning team. Usually I'll hedge my bets and I'll put, Chevy as the winning manufacturer and then Team Penske as the winning team. So this week I went all in on Joe Gibbs, and you want to know what? I should have listened to my own instincts, because last week when we were doing our picks, I was going to go with Martin Truex Jr. I had him picked and I said, you want to know what? He's not going to go 2 in a row. And I switched it to Chase Elliott. So at least I did something right there. And I put Chase on my fantasy team. He was in my garage pick. I swapped him for Kyle Busch. I thought Kyle Busch was going to have a great day. And honestly, you know what I wish I did? I wish I switched Kyle Busch for Martin Truex Jr., wasted a Kyle Busch use, and kept MTJ for a road course down the road. But, hindsight's 2020 and the year's 2021. Matt, what's your checkers and wreckers for this week?
Yeah. So, I try to stay away from being biased in this segment. But I could not.
I don't blame you.
I could not give it to anybody else other than HMS. They kicked ass, and I loved seeing that. That's going back just a few years. HMS had their struggles, and it was hard. It made watching them. I wouldn't say quite as bad as like what Stuart Haas Racing is going through right now.
Yeah.
But HMS had their struggles, and Chevys in general weren't doing good. And to just go through the ebbs and flows of a team, it makes that the sucky times back then worth
so much better now.
Because now you're seeing, the better
the fruits of the labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it just shows you stick with your team and eventually it's going to work out. You just got to wait for it, especially in NASCAR. You have a lot of comers and goers, teams, like I said, ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see them do as good as they are, and really all season they've been killing it. I think HMS's issues in previous years was they just had an aging, roster of guys. Yep. And then you replace them with young guys, and it takes those young guys a little bit to find their footing and get their wins. And I think we're seeing it this season. We saw it last season with Chase. We're seeing it this season with William Byron and Kyle Larson. And Alex Bowman's one of those guys where he kind of ebbs and flows. He's a sleeper where he can pull out a win at any track. Really, it just depends on the kind of day he has. And like you said too, Chevy had their own issues, and they did a complete redesign 2 years ago, and it really paid off, because in the 2019 season, no one thought much of Chevy, especially in the beginning. I remember people saying they didn't think Chevy was going to win a race all season. Of course, they did. They won the championship.
No, that was 2019 when Kyle Busch won the championship.
Oh, you were talking about 2019.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But 2020 they came back with a completely redesigned car, and they won the championship with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. They're the youngest stable. I think that they've got 4 guys there that can realistically, down the road, all be champions in this sport.
Absolutely.
They all have that talent. So I think things are going really good for them. I just hope that they're not peaking too early. Obviously that's a wait and see type of thing, but so far I really like what I see from them. And then my wreckers, I'm actually going to wreck myself. Earlier this year, I said that Chase Briscoe would win Rookie of the Year by default because he's only going up against Anthony Alfredo.
Yeah.
And even though Briscoe only still has a 66-point lead on Anthony Alfredo, I think we all could say confidently that that's not quite where we thought he would be at this point in the season. He won 9 races last year in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah.
And he was just on fire. And, I think I actually owe Anthony Alfredo, not that this would ever get back to him, owe him an apology because I wrote him off thinking that Chase Briscoe was going to light it up. And I was so wrong. So all of SHR, besides Harvick is really, really struggling. I mean, consistently running in the 20s.
And I think that has a lot to do with Chase not having the season. I think that probably everyone,
a lot of people expect
him to have. I just think it's a Stewart Haas problem, more or less than a Chase Briscoe problem.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I agree though, Matt. Like I expected, okay, Almirola, he's one of those drivers that are probably on their way out. You can see them struggling. But bringing a young guy in there and to take over that, usually just being a younger talent, your coordination is there. Everything is just in better condition to be behind that wheel. And it just he didn't give that team any boost, like some of these other teams got from these new drivers coming in. They kind of gave them and energized these teams. And Briscoe I think it's a Stewart Haas problem, really.
Yeah.
Especially when you're comparing him to a guy like Anthony Alfredo. And this is no dig on Anthony Alfredo, but he never had a full-time ride. He was running part-time for RCR last year, and he ran well in the Xfinity Series. But
I mentioned that in one of the shows. Like Anthony Alfredo, I can't put him in a Quinn Hoff.
Absolutely not.
Like,
no,
he's not in a Cody Ware. I think Anthony Alfredo has more talent than those guys do. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
There's some races where he has some shitty luck, and like I said, it was like somewhere where he knows to get out of the way. He knows his place on the racetrack.
He's almost in a Matty, like where Matty D was just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
The right opportunity, I think he can really thrive.
And that's why, like, it's no knock on Anthony Alfredo. Like, this is his first real big shot, and he's not in the greatest equipment. He's never run full time, so he's getting used to one just the full time schedule. 2, the length of a cup race is a lot longer than an Xfinity Series race, and he didn't have a whole lot of experience running Xfinity Series races. And to compare him to a guy like Chase Briscoe, who, like you said, won 9 races in the Xfinity Series, absolutely lit it up. People expect him to win in his rookie year. I always think fans tend to put too much pressure on rookies. Especially older fans, I feel like, because back in the day, rookies would win. You'd see like a Tony Stewart win in his first season. Dale Jr. would win in his first season. But, I mean, it's not that likely anymore. I mean, no disrespect against Cole Custer last year. He got a win in his rookie season, but it was kind of a right place, right time type of deal. And I love Cole Custer as a driver. I loved watching him in the Xfinity Series, and I was happy for him that he got a top 10 this week. But yeah, it's a big jump to Cup, and Chase Briscoe's been having a rough go of it, and he's honest with you too. He says he's having his struggles. He's having a hard time adjusting to these Cup cars, and then they have to go and adjust to a whole new Cup car next year with the next gen car. So we'll see how that goes.
That's one thing that I thought about. Like I said, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, but I was thinking, is Stewart Haas kind of just scrapping this year? But I mean, it's too much money that they're losing, race in and race out by not being competitive. So that's why I don't want to go tinfoil hat theory.
I don't know. I've heard some conspiracy theories about Stewart-Haas Racing, how Harvick's the only real money car, so they put all their efforts into him, and everyone else is kind of an afterthought. And I don't believe that.
That's on every team. I hear those rumors about everybody.
Yeah.
They're just like because Brad's not running well, everyone thinks that like all the equipment's going to Joey, and Joey's the golden boy at Penske, so they're not giving Brad anything.
Yeah.
Like that's not. They're giving Kyle Busch, and they were giving Kyle Busch everything for years. Oh, Kyle Busch is the only one getting.
And then he stopped winning. Now he's getting the bad cars.
Denny Hamlin. Now everyone's giving. Gives us. No, it's just some people year to year. Are better. It's just what it is. Whoever team figures out the chassis, I think, is the team that gets the edge. And, once it usually evens out throughout the course of the season. And you tend to see that, and teams tend to like figure it out and catch back up. Man, this year's weird. I just don't, the gaps are pretty big at certain cars right now.
Plus, I mean, if you look at Stewart-Haas Racing too, I mean, Eric Almirola has been pretty consistent getting in the playoffs since he moved over. He's just having the worst year ever, and it continues to go up in flames, literally in flames at Dover. And then Chase Briscoe's new, Cole Custer in his second year, so he's a young driver. Before that, they had Daniel Suarez in, and he was still young and kind of figuring it out before they let him go. Clint Boyer was there for years, but he was kind of a journeyman driver where, he would consistently get in the playoffs, but he'd point his way in. He wasn't constantly winning races and stuff. So I think, Stewart-Haas Racing, it has a lot to do with the stable too, a little bit,
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna give my checkers, and I'm gonna be biased this week. I'm giving it to my boy Tyler Reddick. That's his 5th top 10 in the last 7 races. Another solid day. Of course, he had a pit road speeding penalty to get over. Thankfully, it happened during caution, so it didn't really ruin his day as badly as it could have. But he moved himself up to 15th in the playoff picture right now. If you told me he'd be sitting in 15th in week 2 after the Daytona road course and after Daytona, I would have said, no way. It's not going to happen. I remember hearing them on the radio talking about one place.
Worried about his driver being in 16th week 2 in the season.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Listen, that's so Whitey. It's unbelievable.
I'm a
Whitey. It's week 2, brother. Relax.
I'm a big picture guy. That's all I'm saying. And I remember
I could see the way your brain thinks.
Yeah.
It makes
and I even remember. I don't remember what race it was. It wasn't Homestead. I think it was Atlanta or something. He was having another real bad day, and I heard them on the radio. And his spotter's like, Tyler, don't give up right now. Because if you miss the playoffs by 1 point, you can look at this moment, and this is why. And in my head, I go, miss the playoffs by 1 point? There's no way he's fucking pointing his way into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of RCR. I think it's going to continue. I hope it continues. We'll see what happens in Cota.
Whitey, it's been a few weeks. Look at me. Let's make eye contact. All
right. I'm looking.
Reddick's going to win a race.
I hope so.
Reddick is going to win a race.
Hey, maybe this week in Cota. I don't know. It's a new track for everybody. It'll even the playing field, and that Xfinity Series run the day before will pay off. My wreckers, kind of in line with Eric. I'm giving it to Martin Truex Jr. Into this weekend. He was the talk of NASCAR media. They said he was the car to beat this week. He was starting on the pole. Like last week, clean air is king. We all expect him. I know I expect him. Get up front early and stay up front like he did in dominating fashion in Darlington. And he was not the dominant car. I wish I didn't use him up in fantasy this week. Like I said, I wish I switched him with Kyle Busch. But you want to know what? I moved up to 3rd in our fantasy league this week. So maybe I made the right move. But I don't know. I know I said he wouldn't win 2 in a row. But
that shows how hard it is to win a cup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Go for how dominant he
1
was.
week.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the same package. With the same package.
That's very true.
Like, Truex dominates in the 750. He's won every race that's in the 750, blah, blah, blah. Well, here we go. just it's
the next
track.
week.
It's a different ball game. It's a hard sport to get a win in.
And even I felt bad. I was thinking about last week, Matt, you were going to pick Kyle Larson. And I kind of tried to deter you away because he hadn't run the small blade, big horsepower package at a short track at Dover. And thankfully, you stuck with your instincts and you got a second place on that one.
Man, he's so talented.
I'm just glad I pulled the audible and I chose Chase Elliott as my pick to win. And speaking of Audible, you can listen to us every week on Audible under the podcast section. Just look for Bump and Run Podcast and wherever podcasts are available. But yeah, like I said, and I forgot to do the highlights, but there really wasn't much highlights out of Dover. 7 cautions for 41 laps. 10 lead changes again among only 5 different drivers. So like I said, once you were out front in that clean air, it was king. Was there anything really out that stood out to you for the race besides what we've covered so far?
No. I think that's what it was.
Like I said, it was definitely a day for the pit road guys. If you were good on pit road, they could advance you in some spots.
Oh. Thing. I don't know if any of us touched on it. I got to give credit to Suarez.
That's what I was just about to say.
That team. I remember we were talking about. We're watching that tracker on the side of the screen, and I'm seeing Suarez, and I'm like, oh man, and I watched him after that. I saw him running up for him. Like, okay, let me see what he was battling those guys, and he was running that car really well. So I got to give credit to Suarez.
He seemed like last year, I don't know if you guys remember at all, but he seemed really down in the dumps. He didn't make the Daytona 500 in 2020, right?
No, because he was with the Gaunt brothers. They had to qualify their way in.
And I think that really hurt him mentally. And just to see the progress that he as a driver has made this year with a brand new team, he seems a lot happier. They interview him a lot. I know Michael Waltrip on the grid walk before the race goes to him a lot. I think they're pals.
Yeah.
And he just seems happier. And I love to see that, so that's really cool. He's running good. And after being down and out mentally last year, he seems like he's in a good place right now. So that's cool.
I don't know about his mental state last year. I'm sure it was a hard hit going to an underfunded team like the Gaunt brothers. But in my head, I feel like that was the best move for Daniel Suarez because he kind of got thrown into the Cup Series very quickly. He was expecting to run another Xfinity Series season. He had to replace Carl Edwards at Gibbs. That really didn't work out. And
well, at 19, he was my teammate for years, and I'll tell you what, I always stuck up for Suarez, and because there were some weeks where I'm like, damn, he's beating my guy. I'm like, Suarez, he's got talent.
He has talent. He has speed. The thing I was going to say though about Suarez is early on he would kind of push it a little too far, kind of like what Ricky Stenhouse Jr., where he kind of pushes it, puts himself in a bad situation, and he would wreck a lot, especially when he was at Stewart-Haas Racing. I feel like every other race at Stewart-Haas he was wrecking. And what I was going to say, I feel like moving down to the Gaunt brothers, kind of putting him in the back of the pack, kind of putting him in a lower funded team where he kind of had to protect that equipment, where he's racing for position. I mean, those guys are racing their own races back there, but at the same time in his head, he knows he has to bring that car home. I think it kind of made his decision-making a little bit better. I could be completely off. I'm thinking.
I think there's definitely something to that. I agree.
I'm just thinking as a growth, because last year I noticed it when he was running for Gaunt Brothers. He wasn't getting involved in accidents. I think he maybe had 1 or 2 DNFs. I think one was a mechanical issue, and then I think another one was a wreck. It might have been at Talladega or something like that. But I think maybe that year down at Gaunt Brothers kind of helped him. And then, he gets this new opportunity with Trackhouse Racing. It's a new team. It's got RCR affiliation, which, in the years past, RCR hasn't been the greatest equipment, but right now they've been running really strong the last 2 years or so.
Suarez, the thing with him, and I kind of saw it was I think he felt disrespected on the racetrack. I think he felt that, he needed to earn some of these guys' respect while racing them. And I think I remember his last year at Stewart-Haas, every interview, he was frustrated with somebody. He was getting in altercations with people. He was really getting feisty. I
He
think
fought
that was
Michael
him.
McDowell, didn't he,
Yeah, he
during a
sure
practice
did.
session?
I think
Sure did.
Put him down, too.
it was him being frustrated with people on the racetrack and him being frustrated that, like, hey, I have this spot here. I'm not just some guy that you could move out of the way. Like, race me the way you would race someone else. And, you know, like after leaving Stewart Haas, I think it was a refresher to go to that other, you know, smaller team.
Yeah.
He got his mindset back, like you said, and now it's all racing. He knows the talent he has. I think everyone else knows the talent he has.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now in that 99 car in an underfunded team, showing the talent he has and getting the finishes that he's gotten.
Oh, yeah.
I think that team is, you know, I think they're going to be better than 23-11.
And you
They
all
are so far.
I was just going to bring it up. Bubba got his best finish of this season so far in 11th place. And again, it was due to pit strategy. Like a lot of these guys did move up, but he is not.
Watch the Bubba Wallace versus Suarez, their trajectory, see where they go. Both new teams.
And I've been paying attention to him because like you said, they're both brand new teams. They just started this year. And that's really like, I've been watching all three. I've been watching Corey LaJoie at Spire Motorsports. They've been having some bad luck. They had some engine issues and stuff.
And I'm with you, Whitey. Like this year, like with me, with Eric Jones being in the 43, I'm following a lot of these like underfunded teams, some of these underdogs and
mid-pack guys.
Because you want to win
season for me. Because like instead of being like, it's not a dig or anything, but like, okay, you're a Chase Elliott fan, Matt. You know, so like, okay, you're
paying attention to the top 10. Yeah.
Right. So like I was there too. And like now it is kind of unique. I've never been in this position and it's kind of fun to watch these guys and I'm
battle it out for 20th place in points and stuff.
I was there a lot with this guy that's over my shoulder with Junior. There were a lot of years where he was mid-race or mid-pack racing.
Yeah, you are right.
But I mean, I said it in our first episode that never aired due to technical difficulties, but in our Daytona preview, I said the long lost episode. But I said, like, I want to see where these teams stack up. I want to see where Spire, 2311, and I want to see where Trackhouse all stack up. And I even said it. Daniel Suarez said he was in the best equipment of his life. And we all laughed because we're like, how he was at Gibbs. I'm
like, there's no way he's in the best equipment. I was one of them, so I will eat those words.
And I don't know if it's the best equipment he has in his life. I don't think they were giving him poor equipment at Gibbs or SHR, maybe an SHR. I don't know, but so far he's been doing very well, and it's been fun to watch. I mean, I don't know how many more top 10s he has in him. It seems like his top 10s have been not through luck, but just through good pit strategy, good racecraft.
That's part.
And I think that's where kind of Bubba's lacking. Like their team isn't thinking outside the box. I mean, yeah, they got a top 10 or a top 11.
Their first one. Their first top 15 of the season.
Yeah.
And get it together. I'm sorry. Like,
and this is from a team.
This shit on them every week, but get it together.
Yeah, this is from a team where Bubba said, "I'm gonna win 2 races this season," and so far they haven't, and they haven't even been close. And you want to know what? They've had some issues where they were running in the top 10 and they were having strong days, and then it fell apart in stage 3. You know, and that's
part of it. Put together a full race.
And that seems to be where Suarez and Trackhouse Racing really shines, is they work on their stuff and they kind of figure out how to be up there in the 3rd stage. And yeah, it's only Suarez's second top 10 of the season, but I think I've given my checkers to Suarez at least twice in the past. And you want to know what? Again, too, looking at Corey LaJoie, they're not really performing too well either, you know? So I think Trackhouse is the cream of the crop when it comes to new teams and really should be the model to look at for the future. I know there's a lot of people trying to get into the sport next year with the next gen car. There's some charters becoming available. I think Rick Ware said he's going to be leasing out 1 or 2 of his charters. So that's opportunity for a new team.
I thought we were done with that 4-letter name.
Oh, yeah. Rick Ware Racing? No, well, I'm just saying we have the possibility to see some new teams enter the sport, and if they follow that Trackhouse path, I don't know what Trackhouse is doing different than those other guys, but if they keep doing it, I think I think they could be a contender in the playoffs, not this season, but definitely in 2022, 2023. We'll see how it goes. But you want to what? At the same time, Corey LaJoie, they have Hendrick engines. They have Ganassi cars. Right now, Ganassi's not running that great either. So is it who you're getting your stuff from? You know, like I said, I'll throw my tinfoil hat on 2311. Are they truly getting Gibbs cars, or are they getting all that same old Levine family racing stuff? Christopher Bell struggled last year in that Levine family racing stuff. He didn't come together until the end of the season near the playoffs.
What all this talk is kind of just like, it just like sparked something in my head where like, I think we really have to appreciate this NASCAR season, because I think come the next gen car, all of this is going to completely change. I think that has a lot to do with what's happening this season. And I think that's what's making this season so great. Yeah. And I think come the end of this season, looking back, let's say in 20 years from now, like we're going to look at this season and be like, wow, this was crazy because of all the change, because their teams don't go to the next car. I mean, I just really think fans, instead of all of the bitching we see on Twitter, all of the, complaining about this package versus that one, I think we all should just
take it in and appreciate it.
Enjoy, take it in and appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That you make a good point too, because we have no idea how the next gen car is going to perform on track in a pack. I'm saying it right now. Daytona 500 2022. I would not get your hopes up for anything, wild or spectacular. I'm going to say give it a couple races, maybe even 13 or 15 races before you really
this point in the season next year, before we can really
judge the next gen car,
Sure.
So like you said, we could be watching one of the last great NASCAR seasons and not even know it.
Right.
Speaking of Ganassi, though, I mentioned Ganassi, Kurt Busch finally had a decent day. His finish did not show what he was doing for most of the day. He finished in 13th place. Much of the day, he was running in the top 10. And I was shocked because, one, I didn't recognize the car. It wasn't that black monster car. And two, I didn't recognize that performance out of Kurt Busch this season. He has been having an awful season. And I wonder if maybe it's just that Chip Ganassi equipment that's given Corey LaJoie some bad luck. Cole Custer, top 10. What else do we have? Harvick had a great day. Never looked like he had a winning car, but he had a solid car all day long.
Yeah, he was up there.
And we got to go to our last place driver. We like to highlight the winner, and pretty much every podcast and radio show likes to highlight the winner of every race. Here on the Bump and Run podcast, we like to highlight the last place finisher. And this week again, well, it was a rerun. We got Eric Almirola in last place, and he had a big old hit. They got to be running out of parts over at SHR to build those Smithfield number 10 cars.
I don't know how many cars they have left over there.
I don't know. It's running out. So far, he's finished outside the top 20 in 9 of the last 13 races this season.
He's 28th in points.
Do you
not
think
okay?
I know Smithfield is a big supporter of Eric Almirola and that number 10 Stewart-Haas racing machine, but do you think with Xfinity Series talents nipping at their heels, do you think they get rid of Eric Almirola at the end of the season?
I don't know what his contract looks like as far as, if he has a year or two left in him or whatnot.
Yeah.
Anything's obviously possible, because the dollars that come from these sponsors is really what speaks loudly. And speaking of Smithfield, I'll just say that we wanted to make some breakfast this past Saturday, and I wanted bacon with my breakfast.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the assortment of all the different bacon at the grocery store, and I went with Smithfield only because it's a NASCAR brand. So I just want to point that out there.
Go NASCAR brand too. If Monster, Red Bull out of the question, I'm always going Monster. I love that out of you, man. I love it. For a while there, I was Home Depot. I never went to Lowe's. You know what I mean? Like I went to Dollar General when Matt was sponsored by Dollar General. So I love that.
Yep. I just thought that was a little aside that I wanted to throw in there. But yeah, I don't know. Eric Almirola, I mean, we've said all we can say about him the last few weeks. I just hope he can turn it around.
Absolutely. And I agree. If you have the chance to, pick a sponsored brand for NASCAR over a non-sponsored brand, go with the NASCAR one. And in fact, I just noticed the other day, I bought a bag of combos, and on the back of the on the back of the bag of the combos, it said the official snack of NASCAR or something along those lines.
Yep.
So I'll be buying more pizza flavored combos in the future. Speaking of combos, I got some combinations that you can choose from. It's the Pickle Lane segment. We have
what a segue.
I don't know. That probably wasn't the best segue I've ever had. But the choose cone is out. It's your choice, which lane you're going to pick. And I got a couple topics. So we're coming to a road course this week. Long caution laps are in our future. Matt, you brought this one up. Should they have a shortcut through the track to kind of get rid of some of those caution lap times and lags? I was thinking, or should they have just a yellow on a portion of a track? Once you get past that, then you continue your lap.
Yeah, I mean, local cautions are probably the most logical thing to do there.
Can I tell you, I was trying to figure out what that term was. Local cautions. I was Googling so much stuff. I was like partial track caution. I'm like, no, that's not it. I was trying to figure out local cautions. That's what I mean.
Local cautions is what they call it. That's probably the most logical thing to do. And I know yesterday, when I brought that up in the middle of the race, I kind of thought about it for a second. I guess if they had shortcuts during caution laps, they wouldn't technically be running the full predetermined length of a race. I don't know what that does as far as, different strategy and things that teams might have.
That's true. Especially too, when you're trying to figure out your fuel management and everything, you might be trying to save some fuel and then you get a caution. So it makes it a little bit easier.
Right. And I know with I'll just use a round number. I know with road courses, they don't run 500 miles, but let's just say, the predetermined mileage was 500 miles, but after, 10 different cautions with shortcuts in them, they really only ran 460 or whatever it might be. That throws things off. So I guess they can't really do that, but localized cautions would probably be the most logical thing. But I mean, they definitely do with these road courses. They definitely need to figure out something, because the caution laps, I mean, one caution lap could take 7, 8, 9 minutes, or it feels like that. So, I hope they figure something out there.
How about you, Eric? What's your thought on road courses and cautions and local cautions and shortcuts?
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough thing to go. I mean, you would think they'd have something figured out by now. If they're going to do that, put it on the schedule. You think somebody would have brought that question up. Hey, what are we going to do about this? They're all about TV time and coverage and when to run the race and how many people they're going to watch. And, you get, a couple laps into this race with a couple cautions like you tend to do at road courses. Yeah, man, this race turned out to be a 6-hour race. So you think someone brought that question up in NASCAR to get something figured out? But
F1 and Indy does local cautions, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why can't we?
Yeah, I would say that would probably be the best bet. But other than that, I would assume they would have that figured out, right?
You would think. Speaking of F1, I saw on Twitter, I guess there was no F1 races this weekend, and some F1 fans in the UK were watching the IndyCar series, and they couldn't believe how many commercials NBC put on. Apparently, F1 overseas has no commercials.
I think no. I think they do it with ESPN too. So I actually, what was it, last weekend? I had time to watch the F1 race. It was a Saturday morning. I didn't have much going on.
Yeah.
And so I watched it, and it took, I think the race was over in 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. Mm-hmm. And one thing I picked up on was, wait a second, there's no commercials.
No commercial breaks.
I got probably an hour into that race before I realized there's no commercial. I think I had a pee or something. I was waiting for a commercial. I don't watch a lot of F1 races, so I never picked up on that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know how they figure that out.
I think I just figured out a compromise with the yellows and road courses. Save all the commercials for any time there's a yellow flag, and just run them one after another. Do like 7 minutes of commercials.
Dude, that's perfect.
You know,
that's
just get them out of the fucking way.
You know, there's going to be cautions because there's trends. You asked Larry Mack how many cautions are in this racetrack. Hit there, commercial time. There you go.
Yeah,
especially this upcoming week, it's gonna be mayhem. You better set aside. You better set aside Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for this race.
Absolutely, definitely gonna be mayhem. Thankfully, we're returning to practice and qualifying for Cota. And do you think it's time to bring it all back, all together? We're seeing more tracks open up with full attendance. We're seeing the race weekends kind of get back to normal. More and more people are vaccinated. More and more teams are vaccinated. So the CDC says you could take off your masks out in public and everything like that. Do you think it's time where we tell these teams, hey, we're bringing back practice and qualifying, we're doing full NASCAR weekends? Or are you still okay with just no practice or qualifying?
We've talked about it before. Quick and simple answer, yes, bring back both. It's time.
Yeah.
100% agree. I love it. Bring it back.
Yep. I agree. I'm looking forward to this weekend for practice and qualifying. We got practice on Saturday morning, qualifying Sunday morning. I'm going to be watching both before I even touch my fantasy team. Mm-hmm. I have a general idea what I'm going to be doing for fantasy, but I'm real excited to see some Saturday morning practicing again. Let's see. We're halfway through the season with only 6 open playoff spots. We kind of touched on this already without realizing it. We still have 3 people we expect to win: Denny, Harvick, and Chase. Do we see either of them go winless this season? Do you think there's a chance, or do you think you're going to see at least one win from each of those guys? I mean, last year Martin Truex Jr. only won 1 race before he got to the playoffs.
No, I don't. I mean, once again, we already talked about this, so I'll go through it really quick. All 3 are going to get wins. You know, Chase with the road courses and the fact that Hendrick Motorsports is on fire right now, it's just a matter of time with him.
Yeah.
Same with Harvick. He's running a lot better than he was at the beginning of the season.
Absolutely.
I definitely expect him to win a race. And then with Denny, we've touched on it every week this year so far. He's going to win a race. I think by the time we get to August, he'll have multiple wins. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you too, Matt. You know, I agree. I think Denny's going to get a win, but I think Harvick, has a possibility to maybe not get one.
I know in the 2019 season, it took Harvick a long time before he got his first one. I think it was at Loudon in August, and I heard an interview with Kevin Harvick and Mike Bagley from MRN and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio's The Morning Drive, and Kevin Harvick himself said, like, people really do have short memories, because last year for him, he said it was like a career season. Like it's like the season people dream of. He goes, look back at 2017. It was kind of like this season. So I think people are a little worried about Harvick. I think he'll get his win, but I think it's going to be a lot later than we think. Like you said, Eric, they're kind of making their strides week by week. I sure would hope. I mean, I'm not hoping, but I think it'd be interesting to see one of those 3 guys not get a win and have to point themselves into the playoffs just for storyline. And like you said earlier, I like to think ahead in the season for good storylines. So just announced today, I guess, Abitron ratings or Nielsen ratings for television let all the Cup Series teams know that number placement change is actually better for return on investment for advertisers and sponsors. And there's rumblings that the number placement can change as early as by the end of the season. Now, we kind of got a taste of this last year at the All-Star race, where they slid the number back closer to the rear tire.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's pretty much where I'm at. I like what I saw.
I mean, like, honestly, like, I've been reading about it on Twitter all fucking day today, and I'm just like,
just people arguing about the number.
It's fuck. Who gives a shit? If a sponsor says, hey, I'm gonna give you more money to help your team out, if you do this, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Everyone wants to complain about sponsorship and money, and here's a solution for it to bring more money to some of these teams by just moving a number somewhere. The number stays on top of the race car.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. They don't look that bad.
They're literally
They
just
know
sliding
how to
it back.
design a scheme. I don't think it matters.
I want to say this too, once and for all, because I heard it on Sirius XM NASCAR radio. I've heard it in my personal life with people that I know. If they move those numbers anywhere than where it is right now, I'm done with the sport. I'm not going to watch. And my message is to those people: see you later. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, because we don't need. You don't love the sport if that's what's going to push you over the edge.
The number sliding back is going to change your opinion on the sport as a whole that much, you probably weren't that big of a fan. It's like people
that are tweeting at Bob Pockris to ask if the track has lights. That's those people. Like,
it's the people that say, "Oh, stop watching NASCAR the day Dale died, because that's the day NASCAR died." Really?
And why do you have a Sirius XM subscription? Why are you calling
in every single day? Exactly.
It drives me crazy.
My only thing is, some of those all-star paint schemes looked like trash. But I think that's just the designers. And I think as teams get more used to this and the designers get more used to it, we'll see some pretty cool schemes. I mean, just think about all the new possibilities of all that big real estate in front of the number. I think it's a good idea.
It was all of like maybe 10 laps into that Bristol All-Star race last year before I even stopped realizing that the numbers were switched back. So it's like, or pushed back rather. So like I said earlier this season, as long as they keep it between the wheel wells, I'm fine with it.
As long as they don't make it smaller, put it towards the back of the car or anything, kind of like you see on like sports cars and everything, I think it's fine. You know, just keep it the same size. That way it's recognizable from television, because and this is a lot of people's argument. You know, the number is the identifier now. You used to be able to see, you know, a yellow Kodak car and you know exactly who it was in the 90s. You saw that black Goodwrench car, you knew exactly who it was.
Sponsors are switching week to week where
it's hard to keep up. So the number is the identity.
Cars had one sponsor. By all means, go ahead, take the number right off. You have the Kodiak car, you have the Coca-Cola car, you have the Gatorade car. Okay, it's not like that nowadays, so you just can't do that.
You need that number as the identifier. You need it. Yep.
All right, well, that's all I have for the Pick a Lane segment, and you know what that means. We got a weekend preview in Cota coming up next week. We have a triple header, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup all on track, and we have a double header on Saturday. So 1 p.m. trucks are on track for the Toyota Tundra 225 on FS1, directly followed by the Xfinity Series Pit Boss 250 on FS1. That starts at 4. And on Sunday, we have the Cup cars on track at 2:30 for the EchoPark Texas Grand Prix on FS1. And normally I would give you the top 10 as according to Bob Pockris's math, but we don't know because, like I said earlier, qualifying coming back. We will find that out Sunday morning before the Cup race. Qualifying begins at 11 a.m. Cup practice is this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I'm going to be watching it to figure out my fantasy team, but we got to make a pick. We got to take a stab in the dark. We got to throw that dart at the board with our eyes closed and just kind of figure it out and hope we land right. We had our picks for Dover. I picked Chase. I came in second. Dovin picked William Byron. He came in third. And Matt, you are our big winner with Kyle Larson. 55 points, 50 points for me, and 45 points for William Byron. So it was a close race. Right now, total points, I am in a comfortable lead with 425 total points. Eric is in second with 374, and Matt is nipping at his heels with 369 total points. So it is getting interesting between you two, and I've been falling back just a little bit. I've been picking outside the box, trying to get things a little bit tighter. That's why I picked Austin Dillon a couple of weeks ago. That was a big failure for me. But who are you guys going with, Matt? You got first pick. Who are you picking for Cota this week?
So yeah, like you said, I mean, we get practice and qualifying this week, so that's really gonna help us set up our fantasy and daily fantasy games and whatnot later on in the week. But because we need to make a pick now, And I know some people do turn to this segment to get a little bit of gambling advice who maybe don't know as much, about the sport and kind of lean on us. So I looked at some basic stats this week. Obviously NASCAR never ran at Cota, so which does stand for Circuit of the Americas, which is down in Austin, Texas. For anyone who might not know that, it's a new road course for NASCAR. So what I did was I went and I found road course averages since February of 2018, which gave me 9 total road courses, the last 9 road courses, which I felt was enough of a pool to kind of give us an idea of who's actually good on road courses.
All right, I like it.
So average finishes inside the top 10 within those parameters. Martin Truex Jr. has a 5.4 average finish. Chase Elliott with an 8.1, Denny Hamlin with a 9.1, Kurt Busch with a 9.4, and Bowman with a 9.7. Wins, obviously Chase has 5 wins out of those 9. Martin Truex Jr. has 2, and then Christopher Bell and Blaney both have 1 each. Laps led, Chase Elliott has 275 laps led. Martin Truex Jr. has 145, and then everyone else was in double digits. A couple things that I just wanted to kind of sort out here too about Cota is it's a different road course really than any one that we go to. It's 3.4 miles in length. It has, I believe, either 19 or 20 turns. I saw a couple different things tell me 19, a couple different things tell me 20. So whichever one.
I think there's 2 different configurations.
That's what it is. And I'm not 100% sure which one NASCAR is running.
So. I want to say they're running the IMSA configuration, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Either way, it's massively different than the other road courses that we've already run at previously.
Yeah.
With NASCAR, Watkins Glen is, for example, a 2.45 mile track, which is a whole mile shorter with only 8 turns. Sonoma, again, a 2.5 mile track with 12 turns. The Charlotte Roval, only 2.2 miles. That has more turns. That has 17 turns, but still a shorter track. And then the Daytona road course is just shy of 3 miles with 14 turns. So this Cota is going to have a lot more braking zones. I know they have some nice long speedway or straightaways rather.
Yeah.
Some hard 90-degree turns. It's going to be a wild race. I know.
There's like one section of Cota where it's like 90-degree turn, 90-degree. It looks like a set of stairs.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge elevation difference in one of the straightaways as well. I think it's like
there is going into turn 1. You go right uphill, and then it's like a sharp right angle turn, and you go downhill.
Have you raced it yet on iRacing?
I did a practice session, and I couldn't make
the configuration.
I couldn't make one single lap on that track without going off into the grass. It was so hard. I couldn't figure out my braking zones or anything. I don't know. I mean, we're going to be watching the best drivers in the world take it on, so they're not going to have an issue. But it was
especially with practice.
It was a struggle for me. But even practice, it's only an hour, and lap times are close to 3 minutes, I believe, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm not even sure on that.
I want to say that's what Todd Gordon said. So like, they might not only get a couple of runs during practice, so it should be pretty interesting.
Be fun and interesting. But with all that being said, I get the first pick. I got to go with the guy who's won 5 out of the last 9. Got to go with the guy that's on my chest. Chase Elliott's my pick this week.
All right, and I wasn't expecting anything less. I mean,
you have to. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a handout.
He was the guy last year when it comes to road courses. Obviously, I'm second. I was surprised Alex Bowman has the finish percentage as he does.
Yeah, 9.7. Yep.
Martin Truex Jr. going to be a good lock, I think, especially at practice and qualifying. But I think I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. I feel like Kyle Busch is always a pretty solid road course racer. We're going to be practicing and qualifying. Something people say that Kyle Busch desperately needs to win, even though he's already gotten his win this season. And I think he's pissed off after what happened to him last week. So I think he's going to come in with a vengeance. And I think Kyle Busch might pull it off down in Tejas.
Oh. Well, that leaves me. And I'm going to stick with what I've been going with the last few weeks. And that is the wagon that I've been riding on. And you know what? It's been a pretty comfy wagon.
Yeah.
I've been doing the ride.
William Byron.
I'm going Willie B.
Oh.
You know, I think he has raced more at this racetrack than any of these drivers because he's an iRacer.
Yeah.
I think William Byron, I think he already knows this track better than any of these drivers going out there because of what he's done on the sim.
Yeah,
I feel like you get him on the sim, he's raced here probably hundreds of times. And, you know, all these drivers are going to the sim to practice here.
Yeah.
So what is Willie doing? He's probably on the sim practicing as well. And what is he the best at? Driving that sim.
Yeah.
You know, he's another top 5. How do you not go with William Byron? But if this is road course or not,
yeah,
I think I still go with William Byron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. He's hot right now.
He's hot.
Yeah.
He's hot. He's got to win. The playoff picture right now, we're 13 races in, officially halfway through the season.
Just at this racetrack, this road course, it's an even playing field.
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's
agree.
not the normal Sonoma
There's no
walk-in.
wrong answer this week, I think.
I think his edge is that he's an iRacer, and he's probably been there.
I'm sorry. There is a wrong answer. Quinn Houff.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
You never know. I was going to say, you never know with the rain delay or something, but we got rain tires this week. And there is rain in the forecast. Thankfully, though, we're going to road course, and they have rain tires, so we won't have to worry about that.
Unless there's lightning.
Unless there's lightning. We're 13 races in. We have 10 different winners. Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, William Byron, who's Eric's pick to get win number 2 down at Cota. We have Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. with 3 wins on the season, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Alex Bowman got his second win this past weekend, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Busch, my pick to win down in Cota. I think, Eric, you make a good point about iRacing. We'll see how William Byron does. iRacing this Wednesday, the Pro Invitational, 7 p.m. on FS1. Maybe they'll give us our first little glimpse on who to pick. We got our picks locked in, but again, watch practice, watch qualifying before you make any betting this week, because like we said, we're going to a brand new course. It's an unknown. It's Cota. It should be exciting. I'm hoping it's exciting. I'm hoping Kyle Busch wins. I rarely say that, but I'm hoping he wins for me. Maybe William Byron will win for Eric. Maybe Chase Elliott will finally win his way into the playoffs. This Sunday, Austin, Texas, 2:30 p.m. for the EchoPark Texas Grand Prix on FS1, and we'll break it all down for you Monday night, like always. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White for the Bump and Run podcast, saying good night.